This is Andy from HowEFIWorks.com, and today I want to talk about exporting data from EFILive for viewing in Megalog Viewer HD. Most software packages will have a similar export utility that pretty much applies. If you get into the EFILive scan, this is version 7.5, and go to open log file. This happens to be the data that came with the sample data when you install the software. Your car would have data possibly in a different spot, but go ahead and open up your data. In this case, we're going to open up Cold Start Cruise. The next screen that pops up, you get to choose what data you want to export into your data log. The easiest way to do this is hit the first one, check mark, and then your down arrow, spacebar, down arrow, spacebar, down arrow, and just repeat down to the bottom. The only one I did not grab was vehicle speed sensor, kilometers per hour, but you can take your choice. At the very bottom of the screen, you have about 6 options. Choose caption and units. Leave the rest of them off, and then hit export data. Once you hit export data, you get a pop-up screen that gives you a chance to name the file. Make sure you remember where you are saving your data. This happens to be going to Documents, EFILive, V7.5, and exported data. You'll need to know that when you open it up in Megalog Viewer. So I used the name Cold Start Cruise CSV. And once you get into Megalog Viewer, you just go to File, Open, and drill into the same directory where you save the data, and up pops this screen. At this point, I've chosen to look at RPM, map, and TPS. In the middle screen, I'm looking at injector duty cycle 1, and at the bottom, injector base pulse width 1. Notice that the injector duty cycle is only showing you 3 digits of resolution, and I'm getting 4 significant digits in injector pulse width. Then what you want to do is go to Calculated Fields, Custom Fields, create a new custom field, and we're going to create one called Duty Cycle. You can call this Duty Cycle High Res if you want, whatever you like the name of. And down in the formula, what you want to do is take the injector base pulse width 1, and this is all case sensitive, space sensitive, that sort of thing. So injector base pulse width 1 times RPM and divided by 1200. The 1200 gets you to duty cycle from RPM to milliseconds. Once you do that, you can reopen the file as it will prompt you to do. And what you get is RPM, map, and TPS. Now we can do duty cycle, our new one that we created on top of mass airflow. And you can see far more resolution than they normally would give you. This is where you can see the injector pulse width being pulled in and out, or the duty cycle being pulled in and out, correcting for what the narrowband sensor is showing us. You will also be able to see acceleration enrichment if you have high enough data rates. That's why we have this little jump up here. We also have one there. That is the acceleration enrichment setting in. Now I've gone to the scatter plots and chosen as my primary, my x-axis is RPM, map, and long-term fuel trims. And you can see that this one is running somewhere between about 4% in blue through about 8% in red. But for the most part, all the colors are in this mid-range, which is exactly what you're looking for. If a big blue area shows up, meaning a negative number, that means that the fuel injection is holding a pull fuel or a negative number in the long-term fuel trim. In Histogram View up here, I've set on the bottom axis mass airflow, on the vertical axis RPM, and what you'll see is everywhere that the average of the mass airflow reading was as a long-term fuel trim, and you can see that I'm running about 3.9% up to about 2.3 at a mass airflow of 5.4, meaning the ECU is adding about 3% fuel. What I've also done is right mouse click out of the area and turned on the trace so you can see where you actually travel through the mass airflow plot. And we can see that for the most part, we're about 3.5% average add. Almost everywhere this motor is adding. The color I've got chosen, you can see I've got right here a color based on value, and I happen to have auto generate high on top. What that does is it looks at your data and auto scales the vertical axis. You have the ability to hit this up down arrow, and you can make all these breakpoints anything you want. I'm also showing rows by columns of 16 by 16, but if your mass airflow has 30 columns, go ahead and hit 30 and you will have that many breakpoints. I would like to thank my friends at tunerstudio.com. These are the guys that developed MegaLogViewer HD that I use for analyzing most of this data. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit subscribe on my YouTube channel.